You know who made it.
Live from LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch, it's Revening's Whiskey Wednesday. Welcome to Whiskey Wednesday, Revenue Party people. As always, we've got lots of hot prizes, hot topics, and hot guests. So I'm going to jump right into it. But first, if you're here watching, please let me know by saying, hey, what's up from the comments, because I love to know who's here and who's watching. But in the meantime, let's show you what we're going to be doing tonight. So we've got our 4 topics. You saw them in the video, and then I'm showing them here next to me. And in the middle, we'll have an intermission with a couple videos. Who knows? Maybe Karen will show up. Comment if you think Karen should show up, because I think Karen should show up. Also, we've got our prizes, Guru of the Week, and the after party that'll be, of course, in Google Hangout. But tonight, to enter to win the prizes, you're going to want to tag Data Ghost for prize 1 and Proposify for prize 2. And let me show you here real quick what you will get. So for prize 1, when you tag Data Ghost, you'll be entering to win 10,000 B2B data credits. That's email addresses. All you got to do is plug in the domain, first name, last name, boom, you get the email. Thank you very much. And then we've got Tara LaFon-Gooch doing her personal branding and giving out one time talking with her and, going through her course. It wasn't a one-on-one. I think it's a group class that she's doing now. So yeah, we've got the 60-minute group class with Tara LaFon-Gooch and Lavender Pro, 1 year free. So definitely tag Data Ghost throughout the show to enter to win. And then, of course, Proposify. If you enter to win Proposify, we've got a headset, we've got Brand 30, we've got a book from our guest who you're going to be meeting here today in just a second. And then we've got SD Lab, Tom Slocum. He gives this every week, but he's our guest too. So we've got Randy and Tom here with us, and I want to bring them in. But first, if you would like to leave a girl a tip, please do so by scanning this QR code and leave $1, leave $5, or leave more. I do everything here with this show, all of the production that you see, the images and the promotions. That is me. I do have Erica's help here. She's clicking on the comments. So please give Erica Stover. You may be seeing her in the comments. Well, some love. So thanks for being here, Erica. But yeah, I would love your love just by leaving a tip. And of course, I'm a StreamYard affiliate. So if you like what you're seeing here, I like using this tool. So yeah, scan here and you'll get a small discount. And then I'll get a little slice every time you renew. And I'd be happy to talk to you about it. So feel free to send me a DM on LinkedIn if you want to talk StreamYard. And with that, real quick, next week, you're not going to want to miss. We've got Sherry Carpinetto and Pasha Urshad coming on March 29th. So this is going to be a really great conversation that you're not going to want to miss. But it's Whiskey Wednesday on March 22nd. So let's bring in our hot guests. We've got Tom Slocum and Randy Seidl. Thank you so much for being here.
Hey.
Here.
Welcome. So I would love to get an introduction, and we've got 2 minutes on the clock here. Tom, could you please tell everybody a little bit about yourself and the story of the SD Lab?
Absolutely. So I'm a 16-year sales vet. Love top of funnel sales development space. I've scaled teams, been a director, VP of sales, and now turned founder. Now I run my own consulting firm called the SD Lab, where I help founders and companies build, scale, and optimize their go-to-market and sales development teams. So I offer team coaching, I do custom playbook design, and then I do a revenue accelerator program. But that's a little bit about me. I'm excited to be here. You know, I've been a fan of Whiskey Wednesday since the very early days, so it's fun to come back around. Tomorrow, I have a big event going on called the Phone-a-thon. We'll talk more about. But excited to be here, excited to jam with everybody, excited to see everybody in the comments, say hello. But that's a little bit about me. Save you some time.
Wow. Well, we've got some time back on the clock. And Randy, could you please do the same and tell viewers a little bit about your history? I mean, wow, we're so lucky to have you here. You have such a rich background. Could you tell the audience about your experience and then what you're doing today with Sales Community?
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. I guess that's another way of saying I'm old, so you're very polite with that.
Not at all.
Tom, you don't have to laugh that much. But anyway, so I started back in the day. SDRs and BDRs were called telemarketers. So probably before several of you were born. Started at a startup tech company called EMC as a 33rd employee. Was there 1985 to 96. Did a bunch of different sales and marketing jobs. Ran the UK. Did the same thing. Ran the kind of Australasia region. Came back to Boston. Did some marketing groups. Ran East for sales, West for sales. Ran North America. So a bunch of different jobs there, sales and marketing side. But that's really where I cut my teeth on the sales side before we had any of these tech stack tools or email or internet or any of that, believe it or not. Then a couple other big companies I was at, Sun Microsystems ran North America, Storage Tech, and then HP was probably my big corporate job, which was probably $9 billion of revenue and 4,000 people running the Americas and the US business. Then I was CEO of some smaller companies and left HP, I guess, about 10 years ago and have been doing a few different things, consulting and advising under revenue acceleration, have a recruiting business called Top Talent Recruiting, wrote a book on sales, which we'll talk about later. Also do a lot of investing in companies, in VCs and private equity firms, serve on some boards. But the main, I guess, thing I do right now is called Sales Community. We brand it as the home of the CRO. Have a pretty impressive advisory board of over 550, of which probably 98% I know well. We partner with a lot of the sales, marketing, RevOps, tech stack companies to help them sell more. So that's my story.
Wow. I love that. And I was snapping. That's like my way of like clapping. Like, oh, I love that. Thank you so much for sharing, Randy. And yeah, so I guess let me turn the clock off here. Everybody, go ahead and follow Tom and Randy if you haven't yet. And let's get started on some of these topics. What do you say?
Yeah.
Right. Hey, quite clarifying question. When are we allowed to start having a drink?
I already started during the intro video. So cheers, everybody. It's Whiskey Wednesday. What's everyone drinking?
He's just got the bottle.
Yeah, might as well.
Yeah, well,
Nothing fancy. I've got the 4 Roses, a little water. All right. So topic 1, Tom, this is your topic. Revolutionizing lead qualification, a collaborative approach for sales and marketing teams. Could you kick us off with this?
Yeah. This is just about, sales and marketing teams really understanding how to work together to identify and really prioritize the high quality leads, right? SDRs, BDRs, those top of funnel folks have to be very intentional with their time. And Jess, we've talked about this before, right? You always have the misalignment between sales and marketing, and the running joke all the time is, "Ooh, I got hot leads coming from marketing," and they're not so hot, right? They're not really going through any proper scoring, any real funnel. And so what you want to do is really create a more effective like lead qualification process and understand how marketing and sales is both focused on, the most valuable prospects, so that when they are coming in, they are working leads, they're scored appropriately based on maybe actions they're taking through the marketing funnel. I know you've probably set a few of these up, right? Where they're scored, they're looked at differently from, are they downloading a form? Are they going through a demo request? And just finding a way to align. So you want to implement like a really, a shared lead scoring system, and then have communication and feedback loops between those two departments to improve that lead qualification process over time.
Feedback loops. That's always so hard. What can both of you teach sales and marketers watching about creating healthy feedback loops between sales and marketing? Randy?
Yeah, I mean, I've had all functions reporting to me, but generally speaking, I'd say marketing is disconnected and not as aligned as they should be. I always recommend they go on sales calls. Now with Zooms, there's no excuse not to, but it still happens. And making sure that marketing is really accountable from an ROI perspective. MQLs are usually crap. SQLs, they may try and say they look good, but they really don't actually end up generating much. So making sure there's you're given the kind of garbage in, garbage out. So make sure they're know kind of what you're doing, how you're doing it, what your ICP is, and then make sure you measure them accordingly.
Yeah. What would you add, Tom?
No, that's it, right? It's the feedback loop is where people miss, right? You even see with messaging, you've got marketing sending out, emails one day, the SDR is following up right behind that. The prospect gets pissed because they've had 4 emails before 9 a.m. from all different departments, right? And so, share a content calendar together, let sales and the reps know when marketing is sending stuff, and then just have a weekly or bi-weekly marketing and sales collaboration meeting to where they can give that real feedback, right? Into what does lead quality look like? Because you want to make it quick, right? The other problem is you have to make these adjustments rather quickly, right? If the leads aren't coming through healthy and enriched, they need to know that ASAP versus they don't talk for 2 months, numbers get missed and everybody's upset about it. And then they find out, well, it was a lead quality. So do it a little bit sooner, bi-weekly, monthly, have that collaborative meeting and let your reps just be able to hash out how they're feeling about the quality, what's marketing thinking about it, asking questions into how conversion is looking. You want to have that loop to align that scoring. And then over time, it gets really enriched and you start seeing the marketing funnel grow.
But how many times the email's not even, so that your first domino, you said emails go out for marketing. How many times now they just go into junk, they didn't even go out there?
They didn't even go out there, right? Because they were poor quality. They were all bad data, right? Your deliverability, right, gets hurt. The marketing's messed up. They're not seeing it. The rep's trying to come in there and say something, and the prospect's like, I never even saw that email. I don't know what you're talking about. And so I don't know why they don't talk, right? Marketing is bringing awareness. Sales is converting that awareness. There should be conversations about what's going out to market, what's being said, what's working, what's not working, and blend those messages. Because the way Randy and I will write our sales messaging is going to be different than what you're going to write, Jesse, right? Like speaking 2 different languages, but they can work together and tell a very good customer story and narrative to your potential customers. And that's what you have to align on.
Yeah. And I've also learned, I'll say, being the old school, the old days, you'd have, a lot of words, you'd have all these links and everything else. And, these days, right, it's got to be short and sweet, no links. You got to get them on the hook first, right?
Yeah. The marketing stuff doesn't have to be this long drawn out thing, the PDF files, the eBooks, like all this stuff that nobody even looks at. Right. And then they say, oh, they downloaded the PDF, and you go to call the prospect and they're like, I don't know what PDF you're talking about. I didn't touch nothing. And now you look like a jackass, and you're like, shoot, and then trying to figure out that conversation. And so it's really something where somebody has to take ownership and bring those 2 departments together, whether that's the marketing leader or the director or manager of the sales department. they need to come together and find a system to work together and have that feedback loop. So those things don't happen. Things get moved accordingly to the right stages. I was at a company once where the CRO came in and asked to look at our marketing funnel and our sales funnel, and both lines were in the same direction.
Oh.
Both the marketing funnel and the sales funnel. And it's like, how does that make sense if they're not being scored and they're not going through the funnel? How can it be every lead coming in is going straight over the fence to sales? That shouldn't be the case. And so we had to build an entire Marketo and Peridot scoring system. Yeah. And then have the other thing is, and Randy, you know this, let the SDRs or sales reps kick things back to the funnel. That's the other thing that is never happening. I don't know any, or maybe a few handful that actually have a recycle system that is actually like scored. You know, if it says to be revisited, put notes in there, and maybe it goes through a different nurture sequence than the same person that's to be revisited for another reason, right? Like, where are they at in your buyer stages? You know, find out the buyer stages. Yeah, right.
You know, as a marketer, we brought this lead in. We spent a lot of money to get this lead in. And then if it just doesn't get recycled again, you know, like that's a lot of money wasted.
Yeah.
And what you were saying about, you know, being concise, I would say for marketers, being concise is a superpower. I think being concise sometimes is harder than being, you know, drawn out and more verbose. And Randy, I have to say, when you were talking about, you know, marketers, they need to start sitting in on sales team calls, on sales calls.
Yes.
Well, my perspective as a marketer is salespeople, please start giving us warm welcome invites to these meetings, not just the gong calls. Let us go sit in there and feel those emotions with you. Because from my experience, I've seen salespeople who are hesitant to want to invite marketers in on those calls. So, you know, I think it goes both ways, and we need to, marketers, yes, we need to be stepping up and we need to be going into those calls, but then salespeople, like, make us feel welcome. Bring us in, because it's going to be to your advantage.
You should set a goal within your org, right? Every marketer sits on 5 demos a month, and every sales rep sits on 5 marketing meetings a month, or set a threshold and make sure those are being followed through, right? It's okay to let the prospect know, hey, Randy, I've got, you know, Jess here, my marketer. She's just trying to understand your world, right? And help understand what messaging is resonating. So she's just going to be a fly on the wall, no harm, no foul, but she'll be in the room, right? And now she can hear the call live, understand the questions that are being asked, and how best to kind of cater your content to that, Jess, because you don't know where your buyers are at when they're coming in. If they see the PDF, what stage does that put them at? Or how aware are they of the company when they come into that discovery call with the rep, you know, and they say, how'd you hear about us? You know, what brought you to this call? And they're like, I've never heard of you before. The marketer's going to love to hear that, right? They want to know why, or, you know, where are you finding your information from? Or, you know, where would you find this stuff? If you were looking for the solution, where would you go? Now the marketer can take that and be like, oh, we should go to this channel and try to, you know, push some ads over there or target some stuff there, because it seems that's where they get their information. It's just all super beneficial. Randy, you've seen it for years. I've been here since 2007. It's weird that sales and marketing doesn't work together. It is the craziest, funniest running joke of sales, and it's baffling because the funnels both go hand in hand. And when they perform well, you've seen them when they are in sync, and I have too. The revenue goals aren't something that are unrealistic anymore. Teams are hitting goals. Companies are hitting revenue because those two engines are actually funneling together and communicating, and changes the whole game for them. It's crazy.
Yeah. And I think sales being held accountable, just as you said, on those leads, you have to make sure they do in fact follow up. Another thing that drives me crazy is, you know, events. Sales thinks, oh, it's marketing's got to bring people to these events. Like, bullshit. You know, they're doing the events, so you've got the right contacts and relationships. You should be pushing to get butts and seats there, not just relying on marketing. So a whole different point. Both of you kind of touch on it. I'll let you each of you answer first. Maybe I'll start with you, Jesse, from marketing perspective. So 2 questions: where should SDRs and BDRs report into, and should marketing and sales be separate, or should one report to another?
I think they need to be reporting to marketing. SDRs and BDRs should definitely be reporting to marketing, because marketing is bringing in the leads, and we are collecting attribution data, and the SDRs have that wealth of knowledge, the qualitative, rich data that we need to bring in better leads that convert, and not just convert, but who renew over and over and over and over again. Because when we just close somebody who converts once, we're still not making back what we spent to bring them in. So we need that rich knowledge from the BDRs, first of all, to get past that first conversion? What would you say?
I'm gonna let Tom answer.
This
You
is a
didn't
fun
say
one.
where should sales and marketing, how should they be separate or one over another?
I think the CRO should oversee both sides of it, right? I think everything should report directly to the CRO. They've got a pulse on both marketing and the sales side, and they are responsible for bridging that gap together because it all affects revenue, right? Like marketing, Jeff, you have goals from a marketing standpoint on those ads generating to opportunities, right? When SKOs come around and they say the breakdown of pipeline, right? A third of that should be coming from marketing for a territory, right? Or for a rep. And so it's like, are you driving revenue? Do I have an answer as to where SDRs should go? This is a long debate that like everybody has a different view. Should it be marketing or just be sales? But I think it just comes back to communication. It doesn't have to go to the VP of marketing should not be responsible for the sales, the SDRs. It's a different world. I don't know a VP of marketing that could oversee a sales squad like that. It would be able to bubble. But what I think, Jess, is it should be mandatory that they funnel feedback and have a conversation with marketing, but they shouldn't report to marketing. They do need to stay in a sales cycle, but I think that CRO should oversee that entire umbrella, make sure both prongs are working, and then bridge the two from being silos. Because I don't think they should be siloed, Randy. I don't think they just need to be one cohesive squad in one unit that bubbles up to CRO. Then they've got their lieutenants under that manage it, and then so on. And those two funnels, run in line.
So what do you think, Randy?
I think for where the SDRs, BDRs report in, I think whoever has the time and cycles to properly nurture that SDR, BDR leader, number one, and you have, I think, two different marketing folks, and I'm sorry if I piss off the marketing people, but you got those that are kind of not kind of sales centric and they're more branding and kind of all that other crap that I call it, or those that are. And a lot of people say, well, if they're not kind of really go-to-market sales centric, it shouldn't be there. But I would argue that's all the more reason for it to be there, so they can actually kind of learn themselves, because theoretically that SDR, BDR leader is going to be dotted line either which way. So I would lean, as long as the marketing is supportive of and can give them care and feeding, is going to learn and listen, do that. And then I think your answer is going to be the same as mine. So we're definitely going to piss off the marketing people. But I think there needs to be one, go-to-market leader. Today, it's kind of called a CRO. And depending upon the skill set or capability, could be marketing, could be a sales. But I think having, we used to call it, one throat to choke, right? Kind of having all that from one P&L. Right. You always get sales complaining, hey, I got to cut, especially now, I got to cut headcount. Market says, well, I'm cutting my budget, right? Then the CEO has to, debate between them if they're both reporting into a COO or CEO versus if they all report into one. So Jesse, if you're that kind of go-to-market leader that has sales and marketing, then you're the one that's going to be refereeing, figuring out, as opposed to CEO, who more times than not is just an engineering person and won't be able to to make judgment calls.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Well, we could talk about this topic forever, but we've got—
That's the whole hour.
There's some awesome questions. So I've been trying to write. I know. Some great questions.
Great.
I like your point though, Randy, and Mark just brought it up, right? A GTM leader. How have we never seen that title, right? That's not a title that exists, and it would be much more effective to be named that. Who is our go-to-market leader that then bridges? So I guess our answer from all three of us is that role doesn't exist yet on where SDRs and BDRs should roll up and all of that, because it doesn't exist. But it would be that GTM leader that knows both sales and marketing, knows how they should work together, puts the meetings on the books, cares for it, manages it, and that's their entire job is the go-to-market plan. That would be cool.
I would agree.
Yeah.
Well, let's move on to the second one. Randy, can you kick us off on this one? This is your topic. So old school meets new school. Timeless sales tips for selling more in today's world. So as he gets kicked off, if people from the comments could please let us know your thoughts on that last topic. Who do you think sales and marketing should report to? And who do you think BDRs, I guess, and SDRs in particular should report to? Let us know in the comments. But in the meantime, Randy, can you kick us off on this topic?
Absolutely. So I do a weekly post on LinkedIn that is called I Might Be Old School, But. And true story is they're all true stories on real-time recent experiences that I have had, and with different clients and different situations that I have It's almost like people, and I don't mean everybody, but the sales profession almost has gotten stupid compared to 20 years ago. So again, I apologize if I'm offending people, but so a bunch of basic things I'll kind of rifle through here. For sure, all about qualifying well. So example, I had some of you may be familiar with Medic or MedPick. I had John McMahon on my podcast yesterday, I guess it was, and we're kind of just going through, if you think about the basis of Medic or MedPick, which is it's not a sales process like a lot of people think. It's a qualifying step process, but whether you use that or anything else, you have to take the proper time up front to figure that out. So you have the whole lay of the land going through all those different bits and pieces, which I would argue today things don't. And when it comes time to get in a deal, all of a sudden you find out, oh, geez, I didn't know this other person in UK happened to be a decision maker. Well, you idiot, you should have known that because you asked that up front as an example. Other thing would be a student of the game, kind of have continuous improvement. And a lot of times I think, reps or managers say, geez, the manager's not giving me any feedback. Again, that's bullshit. You really own your own plan. And I think especially where recently, I'll say there a lot of people had sales success. It wasn't necessarily because of them, but it was just because the market and the fish were kind of jumping in the boat. Now people actually need to go and fish and they're struggling. So, even today, I'm learning, all the time. So I would argue, especially the younger sellers need to do that. Also, following up with what I'd call proper recap or thank you notes. I think that's a lost art. I would say don't go to sleep before you get them out for the day. And that's the best way to be able to recap what was said, what was done, what are next steps. Because typically by the time you have the next meeting, 2-4 weeks down the road, everybody's like, geez, what the heck happened? And if you do that, then that kind of memorializes where you're at, what's going on. And it's especially more important, like if you're the month that you're expecting an order, you can pick whatever time frame, but if you're expecting an order in a month, you should be able to send a note. If I'm expecting, if Jesse's the one I had the sales call with, send a note to Jesse. Hey, Jesse, here's why you want to buy from us. Here's the value that we provide. Here's your internal next steps. We expect an order. You have the budget. You have the authority. Blah blah blah. Kind of laying all that stuff out. That's something I don't see at all. So I put that under the category of recap notes. And talking about the value, I say, okay, if you're in an elevator with the CFO and you have 30 seconds, what are you going to say? And it's not a bunch of technical, mumbo jumbo. Here's email bounce rates and all that. Tom would say, hey, we can make sure we get, more leads that come through. Therefore, we can increase your revenue by 10%. And if your revenue happens to be $10 million, we're going to get you an extra $1 million of revenue in the first year. And for that $1 million of revenue, it's only going to cost you $100,000. So you're going to get a 10x ROI. And if you have a 50% margin, that 100K, you're going to get 500K a margin. So the point there is making sure that you go through kind of what is that value and just think like, okay, I'm going to bump into the CFO. What's my story? Another thing is just be responsive. I mean, I work with a lot of my companies and the CEOs, I send something on a Saturday, they're going to respond. And a lot of times the reps, it's like they check out on the weekend. And not that I want to be the weekend police, but sales is 7/24. The more responsive you are, the better responsiveness that you have. The customer is going to be impressed with that and is going to want to buy from you as opposed to somebody else. And then hoping I still have some time here. There's a bunch of other kind of other basics, but I go into too many meetings. People don't have an agenda. If you've got multiple people from your company, if you don't have an agenda ahead of time to know who's going to talk about what, have time slots allocated, you're going to spend forever on the first topic and you're not going to get through everything else. And by the way, customers appreciate that because that shows that you're organized, you know what to do, you know how to do it. Another thing is face-to-face sales calls. Even when I was at a large organization like HP, when I went in, I'd say, maybe we're averaging 4 sales calls a week, and we amped it up to, anywhere between 8 and 10. And even though I was a SVP and GM overseeing lots of business, lots of people, lots of revenue, I would also lead by example and make sure that I was doing that myself. So I said, hey, if I can do all my corporate stuff and I can get my ass out on sales calls, you all should be able to. And, especially now with, Zoom, you should be able to do more. But I would say that face-to-face aspect is a unique competitive advantage. People that you're selling to are starved. to go for coffee, for drinks, for lunch and dinner. And I see way too many people, hey, I'm going to hide behind my Zoom screen. Like, hey, have you tried to go meet with the person? No, why not? Well, I don't know. Like, it's like the best opportunity to either reinforce past relationships that you had, or if you don't have those relationships, you freaking get on it and you do it. Another real old school one is handwritten thank you notes. I'm sure you'd all, a customer prospect guarantee does not get that. But again, that's just a level of thoughtfulness. Making sure that I mentioned before my comments about sales being involved in marketing events. It's not just up to marketing. I think somebody said before, marketing sets them up and sales gets the people there. But I think too many times sales does not do that. I touched on the work ethic. I view sales as a 7x24 job, and as a leader, I wouldn't ask anybody to do anything that I wouldn't do myself. And unfortunately, this goofy time of the millennials, and again, I'm just speaking from the heart. As leaders, you can't really lean on and push. Like we used to be able to judge somebody based on work ethic. Hey, we don't think you're working hard enough, because if you work harder, you're going to have more proposals and you're going to sell more. Hey, God forbid we do that now, because somebody might ruffle their feathers. So it depends upon the culture that you are creating at your company. Also, if you're working with any high-level executives, make sure you keep them updated. So you might have, if Randy's working as a consultant for you and does an intro to the CRO and CEO, and the sales rep are working with kind of some lower levels, make sure the best practice we do for clients I work with is I'll do updates to that C-suite executive saying, here's where we're at, here's what's going on. Compliment by name the underlings. So, hey, Susie, Sally, and Johnny are doing a great job. Here's where we're at. Here's what's going on. Don't have any asks, but just kind of give updates. And then the underlings like that, like, holy cow, I didn't even know. If it wasn't for Randy doing that note, the CEO or CRO would have no idea who I was. And that's especially more important when it comes time for, getting the order. Hey, by the way, I just want to let you know, looks like we're getting the order. And two other things here. I see we're back in. Setting up the meeting for the next call. I'm on way too many Zooms where, all of a sudden, hey, okay, we'll get back to you. I'm like, no. Let's pick it right now. Everybody's got their calendars. Let's pick it right now. Because guess what? If you don't pick them now, it's going to take you another week or two. So you're going to be setting up the call in another week or two, as opposed to having that meeting then. And then you're just pushing off the sales cycle. And by the way, customers appreciate that. And last thing I'll say is leveraging referrals. So ask for references. So you're talking to somebody, say, hey, do you know anybody that's you're friends with in your industry? Old days we'd have user groups, or maybe you meet for a drink that I should also be talking to, because there's no better. The warmest lead you have besides a call in is one where somebody says, hey, Tom, Jesse said I should call you. Here's what we do. Here's how we're helping Jesse. Love to talk to you.
Well, this is why I think that BDR should report to marketing, because that's the sort of qualitative data that we need to get on attribution, is that referral data, because we don't get it through the pixel. But you're absolutely right. Referrals are everything in B2B. And I loved what you said about handwritten notes. So I'd love to hear from anyone in the comments if you've ever received a handwritten note. How did it make you feel? Because I know when I receive a handwritten note, it does make me feel really special. And so, Tom, what did he say that stood out to you?
In person, right?
Yeah.
I agree with Randy. I know a lot of account executives that do hide behind the camera. They don't find a way to talk to their leadership and go into their territories, go shake some hands. It can make all the difference, especially with dealing with as many spam filters and cold calling issues there can be. Go plan a trip, go hit your territory, go find some meetings that you can go have, go show up at that office. Randy knows the days where somebody would sit 8 hours in that office waiting for that person to show up.
You wait in the parking lot or the lobby.
Yeah. And you were like, I'm not leaving until I talk to Randy.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not waiting. I'll be here all day. You let me know when Randy gets in, right? But, I think that is a lost art. I understand it, budgets, all of that stuff, but there are ways to make that happen. And I think what you said, Randy, about the in-person events, that's something I did at an enterprise company a couple of years ago. We actually started doing micro events in the territories of the reps. So we would do like a baseball game, right? Get the whole thing organized. They would invite 25 people within their territory that they wanted to wine and dine to that baseball game. We did another one in Austin, Texas, or in Houston, where we took them to the Rockets, right, to go catch a basketball game. And so when you start doing those things, you can really build long-term relationships, right? Randy, I think that's the real art that's died, is building a relationship with your prospect versus the burn and turn, book a meeting, close the deal, and on to the next one. Old school kind of reps, and what we were all kind of used to was build an actual relationship with this customer that can lead to more revenue, because once they spend once, they'll spend again and again, right? Wine and dine them, make them feel good. Now we just book meetings, we close some calls, and we're on to the next, and nobody's really catering that relationship anymore. So for me, like, my four kind of topics that haven't changed over the years from old to new, right, is building strong relationships with the customers, the importance of active listening and having some empathy. That has still been a long-term kind of not changed in the world of sales. When you actually, talk to the prospect, you get to understand them, even in person, kind of learning about, do they have a birthday coming up, kind of understanding their day-to-day while you're having a drink, right? That goes a long way. Some of the newer stuff, right? You've got technology to really enhance those customer interactions and experiences. So that's where it's kind of getting kind of cooler, because you have a lot more data coming your way, that it makes it a little easier to kind of build that relationship. Randy and I used to just have an Excel sheet and a phone. There was no way to connect the dots. There was no way to understand who I was calling. I just knew it was Randy, and he had a 480 area code. And hey, how's the weather in, Arizona? How you doing, Randy? It's at 5:00 at your dinner table, right? Nowadays,
I bet Randy was making phone calls off of a clipboard even before the Excel sheet, right?
Yeah, well, you'd have the business, true story, you'd have the business listing, right? Sometimes you kind of go into an office building, you write down the name of the company, say, back then we're selling the technology solution, say in the EMC days, say, who's your data processing manager? I want to be connected. So you had no idea. I mean, it's almost cheating the tools and everything that's available today.
I tell people all the time, if I could go back, and I was just from 07, Randy, I can't imagine when you started, right?
Yeah.
Like 07 wasn't that long. I feel like it wasn't, but it is so ancient compared to what these SDRs and some of these reps have today, because I didn't get the luxuries of an engagement platform to amplify my outreach. I had to do everything manual, one by one. I had my own cadence in my brain on when I needed to call this person again. And that's why I think follow-up has gotten so soft. And that's why I always say follow-up is where the battles are won in sales. Forget the first part. It's the follow-up. And people can't do it because they rely on tools to do it. And like, we had to really own our follow-up, Randy. If we said we were going to do something, we had to do it on our own. There wasn't a system to give a nice little cue to say, you should check in with, just today. It's been 2 days,
You'd have it written in your calendar that called the say do, kind of whatever you say, you got to do it. And I'll give you another thought on the face-to-face sales calls. So forget about your job now. So from a relationship perspective, sales reps think, oh, okay, so-and-so bought from me, blah, blah, blah. Now all of a sudden they're a new company. And geez, I can't believe they're not getting back to me. Well, no shit. The reason that they responded to you before is because you had kind of whatever name on your business card or your email, I guess now these days. But you have to make sure that they say kind of know me, like me, trust me, and then buy from me. So if you don't have that personal relationship yourself, and it's not going to be portable when you go to other companies. So if nothing else, if you don't have face-to-face relationship with your customers, just know that decreases the likelihood of them buying from you in your next gig dramatically.
Oh, that's a good point.
All great points. And unfortunately, I'm going to wrap this up by saying, in terms of what I think doesn't go out of style from old school to new school, would be understanding your audience, being able to pain inform your audience and help them understand their pain, and then understanding how you're able to provide value. So I'd love to hear from the audience. What do you think are some of those things that, never go out of style in sales and marketing? And in the meantime, let's hear some messages from some of the Whiskey Wednesday supporters. We'll be right back right after these messages.
Hi, I'm Brittany. I'm a website designer and optimization strategist, meaning I go beyond building just a pretty website. I build a website that's designed around your business's goals to attract the right audience to your site and guide them through your sales process to become your customer. And after the site's built, I stick around to make sure that it stays safe and up to date and is functioning the way you need it to. And if you need to make any tweaks to it, I can do that as well. So yeah, I got into web design because I have a marketing background. And one thing that I realized when trying to help clients promote their their business online was that their website just wasn't working for them. It didn't match their brand. It wasn't, set up strategically to guide people through their sales process. It just wasn't working. So my suggestion was always like, hey, you need a new website before we can start, promoting the strategy. So that's why I got into web design, so that I can help set a solid foundation for an online promotional strategy. So yeah, that's me. If you need help with your website, there's 3 ways I work with people. I can either build the site for you or help you build it. I have a guided DIY package where I kind of walk you through the process of building the site and then give you feedback as you build it. Or if you have a site that's already built, I can offer suggestions to improve it and help you make those updates if you need to. So that's me. If you want to work with me, you can go to brittanyhoncomp.com or just private message me and I'll get back to you.
Hi, I'm Valerie Christine, and I'm so happy to be here on Whiskey Wednesday. I help women break free from stored trauma so they can be successful. If you've ever known how to do something, you had all the strategies, but you still weren't successful at it, it might be because of stored trauma. This can come up in the form of procrastination, self-doubt, people-pleasing, not having clear boundaries with yourself and with others. And often people look for the answer outside of themselves, but it's usually within. So if you're finding yourself struggling to succeed and you know what to do, you have a list of what to do, but you're just not able to get yourself to do it, reach out to me on Instagram at Heal with Valerie, and that's Heal with Valerie. I would love to talk with you and see in what ways we can support you to get to where you really want to be.
Hi everybody, my name is Mia Valdez and I'm the founder and CEO of MBM Brands. We are a digital marketing agency who specializes in all of the ecosystem of digital marketing as branding and content and creating automation for our clients. So the platforms that we work for are LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp Business, TikTok. The great thing about working with us is that we do not own a product like a one-size-fits-all product kind of product. So we actually tailor your needs to a specific plan designed for you. So if you want to know more about us, you can reach us on any platform by tagging us at Mia Valdez MBM, and we'll be happy to talk to you.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much to Brittany, Valerie, and Mia. And if they are here, anyone here knows them, please tag them in the comments so everybody can connect with them. But with that, let's move into our third topic. And Tom, this is your topic, the power of collaboration. So creating consistent content, messaging across sales and marketing teams. So we were talking about this a little bit earlier. Now, how about you kick us off on this topic?
Yeah, it goes right into what we, elegantly brought up earlier, right? A consistent and unified brand message is truly essential for building that trust and credibility with your potential customers and your current customers, right? And so, again, it goes back to a feedback loop. Share a content calendar. It changed my life with my team when we started having a collaborative calendar that showed what messaging was going out from marketing, what story they were trying to tell, and then crafting our sequences and our outreach in that month or that period around that stuff. So that way the follow-up emails weren't two of the same thing from both the SDR and the marketer, right? It was, if marketing is sending out this piece today, how can we in our outreach play off in that and continue to build value across that story? And so, Jess, you do a phenomenal job at this. We both do. And, unifying that message between the two, sharing insights, utilizing that customer feedback that you're getting from those pieces. I think teams should be having their reps be on LinkedIn or other channels, right? You see brands that are winning right now actually don't have brands doing the marketing for them. They don't exist. It's the reps. It's the people within the company that are creating content, working with marketing, to make that human touch and show that brand. You know, we have a lot of friends in our network that do a really good job at showing their personal side, but telling the narrative of their brand, what pains they're solving, what they're trying to do, what they're doing in their day-to-day. And then when we find that pain in our day-to-day, where do we go? We go to those brands with that unified message, and we see the team collectively working together. And so I think it's just vital to create that messaging, collaborate in content creation, you know, set a meeting weekly where, you know, bi-weekly where you guys can work together in those marketing and sales calls together, because I think sales has a lot to offer in marketing messaging, and marketing has a lot to offer in sales messaging. So I think just working together to refine and adapt that messaging strategy makes all the difference in bringing true quality leads into the funnel that actually makes sense. Because a lot of times marketing isn't branding really well, and you might be getting great leads with good data, but the person isn't ideal. It's not the right audience, and we're not really conveying the message we want to convey. So having that collaboration, utilizing that story together makes all the difference.
Absolutely. And while you were talking, it looks like we had a visitor come in. Karen, are you there?
Oh, I'm going to let Randy have this one. This one's going to be fun. Karen is fantastic. How are you, Karen?
This is my first Karen experience.
Hello?
Karen, are you there?
Can you hear me?
We can hear you,
we hear you, Karen.
Karen, yes.
Okay, how's my audio tonight?
It sounds very masculine, Karen. Karen, are you there? Hello?
Can we Venmo you some money to get a haircut?
Karen's hair is the best. I wish
Karen
I had
is
a
the
haircut
best.
like Karen.
I
Karen's
wish
having
I had
some
the hair.
issues tonight. So,
Hello?
hello, Karen.
Karen.
What's wrong with your voice, Karen? Why do you sound so masculine?
She had too much whiskey tonight.
I
Gave
think
her that
Karen,
deep in her throat.
Karen, I don't know what's going on with Karen, but Karen, we're going to continue our conversation. We'd love to hear from you, though, if you get it figured out. But Tom, do you want to would you want to continue on your piece on collaboration?
No, I think that was really it. I just think it's important to find that messaging, right? Have a collective story from your org going out to market between your marketing and your sales. And they have two different goals, right? Marketing isn't trying to drive a meeting or drive that conversion. They're just trying to drive awareness to the pain, understand that, you know, we are the company that can solve that. And then it's up to the sales reps to play into that and show. So I guess the way to put it is marketing shows the what and the why, and then sales shows the how. And when you can define that within your messaging, right? The what and the why is coming out from marketing, and then sales is coming behind to value add into the how we're going to do that stuff, how we're going to help you. And then that converts.
The what, the why, and then marketing on the how. Would love to hear what the audience says about that, because I like how you put that. But what would you add, Randy?
Yeah, I mean, I would argue, I think too many times, especially, reps or individual contributor marketing people, these comments are hysterical. Sorry.
This group is so fun. I love this group.
It's like, oh my God. But everything's okay. Wait for the message to come on high. And I'm a firm believer, the feet on the street, people that are closest to it, sometimes are the best sources. So agree with everything that Tom said, but kind of make sure you've got the culture set up. So could be, as you defined it, could be sales could come up with some good messaging for marketing. Marketing could come up with some good messaging for sales. And, they're able to help each other out, just like you said.
Yep, totally. Hello, Karen. What's going on, Karen?
Yeah, I don't know what was going on with my mic, but I'm trying to get to the LinkedIn support team. I understand they have an audio support team that you have to dial into.
Well, this is
right
not
spot?
LinkedIn, but we're on a LinkedIn Live.
Are you spamming us, Karen?
Why is it you guys every week?
Every week? Yeah. I know. You always get us, but I don't know why.
I'm trying to find the damn LinkedIn support number, and there's a big problem right now. Like the SAS kids will not stop calling me, and I'm not supposed to be on the list.
So that's the problem. Why do you want to call LinkedIn about that again?
Well, I'm on a do not call list, and it is bothering me that all these SaaS kids just keep calling my phone. And Randy, you're the one who's starting all this stuff with these SaaS kids. You make these kids fear they're going to get fired.
You know what? It's great. If you don't have customers and prospects complaining, that means you're not doing it hard enough.
Oh my gosh. I know where it's coming from now.
This is great, Karen.
So
Karen's
you're telling me
feet.
you're part of getting these SaaS kids calling on my cell phone? I mean, every week they keep dialing, they're demon dialing me. They're using spoofers and all these different calling systems.
Awesome. Love, isn't that fantastic? Because you never know. One of these days, somebody's going to call with something that you're actually interested in.
Well, I am in the sales community, and I will tell you, it looks like a great place, and there are some great tips in there. So I do respect your content out there, Randy.
Okay. Uh-oh. I'm thinking I'm being set up.
Uh-oh. She knows of you. She knows who you are. She got your number, Randy. Karen, you don't like those SaaS kids calling your phone?
Yeah, so here's the deal.
You downloaded some ebooks this week? Did you download some more?
Yeah, every time I'm downloading these ebooks, I get 17 calls right after. And I want the SaaS kids fired for this. This is horrible. Why are they doing this to me?
Because you're fit within their ICP, Karen. They want to talk to you. They just have value for you. Have you ever talked to one of them? Have you actually taken the call and spoken to them? Or do you just hang up right away?
No, I call their boss. I mean, I that's the first thing I do. I look for their SDR. I mean, LinkedIn's the greatest place because you can complain about everybody to their manager and try to get them fired so they don't have any food anymore in their house.
All you got to do is just write a post. Get right to them.
Yeah, well, Tom, I've seen your posts too, and they're good. You guys both have some quality content here, but I can't get a hold of the damn LinkedIn support team. And every time I call, it's like robots. They're just there's tickets going out. They tell me your ticket is it's almost like they wrote it in GPT-4.
Maybe even
Can we mute Karen? Because that's what she probably does to the SaaS sellers.
Oh, Karen. Yeah, I don't know, Karen. But yeah, I suppose we could mute you. Randy, what else might you add to Karen? And Karen, since you're in the sales community, what could you tell us about sales community?
I'm not in there. I mean, I've downloaded a few of Randy's ebooks, but I don't think I'm in there. I don't know. How do you know if you're in there?
Oh, I don't know. Randy, how does she know if she's in there?
Well, there's God forbid I can figure out how to get in the chat, but
I dropped it for you, Randy. I dropped it. It's in there in the chat. Yep.
Thanks. There you go. So you can do salescommunity.com/springfree. And if you use LinkedIn, probably takes 15 seconds to get in there.
Yeah. Well, I'll see if I can join, but I'm worried there's SaaS kids in there that are going to start calling me more. And it's really these data providers and their Ferraris.
Oh, the Ferraris. We know your pain with that. Your mobile number is everywhere from downloading all your.
I can't get it off the list.
Nope. Can't get it off. You're out there now forever.
Call list. And I don't want to be called anymore. Stop calling me.
Randy, what do you tell the SDRs to say to people on the phone when they say, "Hey, I'm on the do not call list. Stop calling me"?
Well, that's as I understand, that's a legal issue, right? So you got to be careful.
Yeah.
I think you can, all you can do is apologize and say, okay. I believe Tom would probably better than me.
No, that's it, right? You just got to apologize, move forward. What is good is most data providers now do put in there, if you do try to export the mobile number, it'll tell you it's on a do not call, so you can't capture it.
Like,
so what
that's
I would
going to
recommend,
stop them, Tom.
Hey, we're hunters.
Come
we're gonna
on,
find it
Tom.
we're gonna find it one way or another, Karen.
This is ridiculous. I'm gonna leave the show. This is an angry night for me. I'm gone.
Oh, stop.
Stop calling my cell phone. I gotta go. Bye.
Bye. Okay, thanks. Bye, Karen.
Karen.
Yeah, so that's our resident Karen. Would love to hear from the folks in the comments what you thought about Karen. And if you've ever reached someone like Karen on the phone, because I'm sure that there are a lot of people who do. But yeah, let's pop into this fourth topic really quick. It's our last topic. And if you wouldn't mind, Randy, before we get into it, could you first give us a little quick, what is your thought about Karen? I would love to hear, your reaction there. And then 4, we've got some leaders in the room. If you're in the comments or you're in the audience, please let us know, people don't like to call themselves a leader. So I guess that's awkward. I won't ask you to say that. But, I would say everybody in a lot of ways is a leader. We're all leading in some ways. So even if you don't consider yourself a leader, I think this topic is really, meant for everybody. Leading with purpose, best practices for successful leadership. But like I said, before we get into that, what did you think about Karen, Randy?
Whatever is cute.
Okay.
I would have rather listened to Tom than Karen, but I appreciate people may like it. So that's my thoughts. If she says, "Hey, do not call this," then obviously you just got to hang up. But certainly nice to have some fun with.
Yeah, definitely. Well, what can you tell our leaders out there leading with purpose, best practices for successful leadership?
Absolutely. So a handful of things here, but certainly I'd say, first and foremost, from a culture perspective, you really set the direction. A lot of times people say, geez, there's, company values and culture, I can't really do it. But I would say that by acknowledging, rewarding, and praising, or kind of criticizing, you're able to kind of flex the culture for something that you want. And I'd say the number one element to that is making sure that you have a culture of ongoing, of kind of giving and getting feedback. So anytime I was at companies, and if I would do, smaller, big meetings, I'd say, okay, hey, let's practice this. Everybody stand up, the person next to you say, hey, Jesse, is it okay if I give you some feedback? Right. And me saying that to you now, you're probably like, oh, what's Randy going to say? I'm going to kind of take it all in, right? Maybe my hands crossed or not, but okay, yes, you can, but you're ready to receive the feedback. Then you can give the feedback. So I can talk for a long time about that, but just kind of having that culture. So that way, whether it's sales and marketing or it's managers, it can be peers. If you have that culture, that helps the whole organization improve, be more, the kind of joke is, Silicon Valley companies are passive aggressive compared to the Northeast. That might be too, direct and abrupt, but I'd argue kind of having that open communication is absolutely vital. And then from a kind of ongoing feedback perspective, you have kind of what is a performance management, kind of what's being put in writing. You hopefully have those discussions all the time. So just not an annual process, but I see performance management likewise is a lost art. And from a coaching perspective, a lot of times people say, oh, my A's are great, I'm just going to focus on my C's. I would argue you should coach your A's as much or more than you do your B's and C's, because that's where you're going to get the best return. From a recruiting perspective, always have a bench. Although I've got a recruiting business in an organization where I always made sure that the leaders spent time recruiting, knowing the network and kind of who they would have on the bench. Another thing that could be debated is behaviors count more than results. So you could have somebody 500% a goal that got a blue bird that really didn't deserve it, but maybe you have somebody else who's 80% a goal but are doing all the right behaviors and maybe just got some bad breaks. So I'd argue that 80% a goal person that's doing the right behaviors is the one that's going to be super successful down the road. And the one that has bad behaviors that just happen to get a blue bird is not. So I would argue you could have that 500% a goal person be put on a plan, and the 80% person, you just say, hey, just got to get the numbers up, but behaviors are great. And I'd rather have that 80% a goal person. And from a leader perspective, I'd always you say the word leader and leadership. I agree, but also is kind of turning the pyramid. I would always say, hey, I work for everybody else. You don't work for me. So if you have that servant leader perspective, that helps a lot. And in doing that, especially if you're a sales leader, what can you do to free up time for sales? More times than not, sales leaders put on all this QBR crap and hey, do this report and that report. And I would always say kind of, what's the value? And in fact, you should actually be decreasing so you can increase revenue generating time that the reps have so they can sell more, as opposed to doing all this kind of corporate recruiting crap that probably nobody even looks at anyway. And similarly, if you're in QBRs, making sure that you kind of minimize the effort. So I would say, hey, ideally, we corporate could pull the reports. We got your pipeline, your forecast. You shouldn't have to put anything together. And more times than not, it's everybody spends at least a day and a bunch of time sweating out the whole QBR process, as opposed to just kind of showing up. And as a leader, you should always make sure, okay, by somebody, if Tom's presenting to me, hey, Tom, I want to make sure you're not doing it just to report the news, but you're asking for help, that you actually get something out of this, which I would argue is something that doesn't happen as much. Same thing I said before on the 8 to 10 sales calls a week. Another thing is leveraging partners, which a lot of times sellers want to say, okay, I'm going to do it myself. I want to control everything. Well, if you're kind of a one-on-one, sales cycle, as opposed to saying, hey, there's all kinds of different partners and channel partners that you could kind of sell with, sell through, sell to. If you can kind of leverage their relationships and kind of have them help you sell more, that just, you kind of improve your time by, say a 10 or 20x. A little example is there's a large solution provider, WWT. Joe Koenig is the president. I had my podcast a few weeks ago. So example, they're completely dialed into most of the Wall Street financial services accounts. So if I were up and coming tech company, I want to get into those accounts. I'm going to go to the WWT and say, hey, what's going to take me probably 2 years to do, I know you can get me an audience in a month, and I'm going to either sell or not sell in 3 months, as opposed to having to wait 2 or 3 years, as an example. Another thing is compensation plans have to drive the behaviors that you want. Too many times you look at the compensation plan, and that should tell you what you want them to sell, at what margin, how much. And more times than not, it does not incent the correct behavior, and also should be fair. So a lot of times you might have your CFOs that want, oh no, we don't want to pay people, we don't want to pay people. Guess what? If it's not fair or achievable or beatable, they're going to leave. So I think the compensation plan as a leader is probably the number one thing that you can also do on an annual basis, which makes life much easier. And always a lot of other things, but I'll finish with the last one. I'd say for any new hires, have a 90-day fast start plan. At a high level, you have kind of the first 30 days, what you're going to do, the next 30 days, the next 30 days. So within 90 days for any individuals, and I'd argue it could be almost any function, but whether the person's going to kind of be a go or no go. And too many times I came into organizations and people would be there 2, 3, 4 years, and for lack of better words, they sucked. Everybody knew they sucked, but I'd say, hey, you could have done this 3 months ago if you did a proper 90-day plan. And by the way, everything that I in here also is in my book, Your Go-To Sales Advisor. I'll figure out how to put on the link, but if you want a free one, you can go to salescommunity.com/ebook, and you can check out as if you're getting the ebook, and you can put in the code Randy ebook. So since Tom was kind enough to help me, I'm going to put that in the private chat, and Tom, maybe you can post that for the group as well.
I got you.
That was awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that, Randy. And Tom, what might you add on leadership? I loved what he said about servant leadership. Like a leader goes to the team and says, what can I do for you?
This is my jam. I could talk hours for this. This is all I lead, right? I'm an empathy activist when it comes to sales leadership. I believe in servant leadership. I don't think it's about being walked all over in the way that people perceive it, as you're a servant to your reps like that. But it is truly my job as your leader to serve you and hope that you can reach the potential that I see in you and how I can get you there, right? And so for me, it's all about, like Randy said, establishing a clear vision and a mission. That is my job. And then on top of that, don't be afraid to do the job that I'm asking to have done. I am a big, Jesse, I get in the trenches with my reps. I make the cold calls. I am doing all the same things I ask of them. If my team goes out for a week because they're sick or on vacation, I'm in the trenches covering that territory with them, putting in that work because I'm not above it, right? So you want to do the part that you're asking somebody else to do. And so that all starts with a culture of that open communication, that collaboration. I think where Randy mentioned, about hiring and a 90-day plan, I always believed in, hire slow, fire fast. Right, Randy, you know all about that, right? It's knowing where your potential is, but also taking a moment to see the potential, hire for potential, not experience, see where people are going, but also be okay to pull that plug on somebody if it's just not working. but be slow to hire. Really vet out those values, those core values with this person, and lead that way, right? And so yeah, for me, I just think it's ultimately for leadership, you need to be empathetic. You need to have open communication. I think kick the ego out the damn door. You cannot be a leader if you have an ego, in my opinion, because it gets in the way of creativity. It gets in the way of collaboration, because nobody wants to work with somebody like that if they're a know-it-all or act like I killed my numbers all the time and now I can tell you how to do it. Nobody hired you into leadership to make 10 more of you. That's not what leadership is, and that's what people think it is. It's more in really, you see the problem, you see the team at hand. How do you activate it to be its best? Leaning into everyone's strengths, into their weaknesses, collaborating between the two. I used to do a lot of teaming people up. So if I had a really great cold caller and a really good social seller, combined them, let them do a competition together as a duo, or get them in meetings together to learn off of one another, so they can get strengthening in those core kind of things together. The cold caller will help the email, or the social seller will help the cold caller, and together they're reaching their potential, right? And I'm fostering that environment to have it happen. I also think what Randy said about ride-alongs, getting in there. A leader most often doesn't even know what's going on because they're so disconnected. Go sit in the trenches with your team. Go ride along with them for an hour. Literally say nothing. Tell them you're literally sitting there just to observe and watch, and don't say a damn word until that hour is over. Just let them go through what they're doing, then go debrief, right? And find ways of what they could have been doing differently. I would find so many roadblocks that my team didn't even know about, or that I didn't know about, but by just sitting with them and being that leader to kind of look at where I could help them, I discover, wait, is the whole team doing this, or is this just you? Because I didn't realize, and then I can come with a solution or help them. But I think, successful leadership starts with just being empathetic and be willing to invest in your team, coach them regularly. And there's just not enough companies doing that right now. But leaders should, definitely lead by example when it comes to that stuff.
Yeah. And if you're not, so if you're in a culture where they're not, I'd argue leave. But if you want to stay at the company, just go. If you work for Jesse, just say, hey, Jesse, and we'll love some feedback. Listen to this podcast, and these, three crazy people are, giving some feedback. And I'd say, hey, can I have some feedback? Oh, well, don't worry, I'm not going to be offended. I want to improve. Here's what I have for my, improvement plan. Here's some things I'm trying to work on. Can I run that by you? What else do you suggest? And then another thing you touch on a little bit, but kind of this whole thing now with layoffs. I mean, most of the time, layoffs that are happening now are just because of lazy performance management. They don't want to do performance management and be, upgrading and top grading and giving feedback and all that. So more times than not, somebody calls and says, got laid off. Why'd you get laid off? Oh, we had cuts. Well, why do you think they picked you over somebody else? Oh, well, they just had to do it. Like, no. They cut you because they didn't want you anymore. So in a very, kind, thoughtful way, you may not be able to get the feedback. You should go back and say, hey, I would love some feedback. What are things that I could do different or better? So that way, then you could kind of learn and develop for the next job.
Yep. And my last touch points I would say is about coaching your A players that you said, right? A lot of orgs don't do that. When somebody starts 3-6 months, you can determine who's going to be able to repeat their number, do really well. And they ease off of those people, right? They don't even care about them anymore. They're like, oh, you're fine. I had that on a lot of teams I worked on. The manager would just stop. They're like, Tom, I didn't bother you because you just get it. You're fine. And I'm like, I'm not fine. I want to learn. I want to know more. Help me do other stuff. Can I learn stuff you're doing, right? And they only care about their problem children. And so just one major thing to walk away if you're a leader tonight, go make sure your A players are doing good too. Seriously, go talk to them, ask them questions, find out what they want to do more of. Don't just worry about your problem children. You want to look at everybody.
Yep.
Oh, you're muted, Jess.
Yeah, because I was doing all this typing. So thank you both for all of that great information on leadership. Anyone in the comments, we'd love to hear from you. What do you think is the one top thing? If you had to pick one thing that makes a really great leader, what do you think it is? Please plug it into the comments and let us know. But in the meantime, let's give away some prizes. So if you haven't entered Data Ghost or Proposify, you've got about 5 seconds to do so. And we're going to start giving away some prizes. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. Let's see, share screen. And the first prize was Data Ghost. So we're going to start here. We've got 8 entries. Hopefully everybody can see my screen. Let me go ahead and hit draw. Who's it going to be? We got Mia,
Randy.
Dean, Tashima, Alexa. Who's it going to be? Who's it going to be? Maybe Alexa. Oh, Marin, congratulations. You are the winner of prize 1. That is amazing. Because Marin's going to be helping you tomorrow on the phone-a-thon, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So
Marin's
she
my,
deserves it.
yeah. She's my secret weapon. People don't know. Y'all, if you don't follow or connect with Marin, do so. She is really, really, truly a great person and incredible. Shout out to her. Nice win.
That is so cool. All right, let's give away the other one. You better enter Proposify really quick if you haven't done so yet, because we are going to draw. We've got 8 entries, so let's do it. We've got Marin, David, Dean, Mia, Alexa, David, Tashima, you won prize 2. That is amazing. I'm going to send both of our winners a form to fill out so we can collect all your information and get you connected with the brands. So yeah, definitely connect with me after the show. So that's the prizes. And we've got the guru of the week. The guru of the week. Okay, so on the intake form, I ask the guests who they think the guru of the week is. So Randy submitted this guru of the week and Tom agreed with this guru. And so do you remember who you submitted, Randy? Or you saw my email where I reminded you?
Believe it or not, yes.
Awesome.
The drum rolls, Scott Barker.
There he is, Scott Barker. So why did you choose Scott Barker?
He's got a great head of hair. He's Canadian, nice facial hair. No, he's actually been very helpful for me in terms of what I'm doing with sales community. Totally respect kind of what he and Max and Paul had going with Sales Hacker, and then how they survived as long as they did at Outreach, adding value there, and in probably one of the worst times going out and starting a VC fund. They've been doing amazing work. I also they had an LP retreat in Scottsdale, Arizona last fall, and I went, and surprise, surprise, I was by far the oldest person, but they just really assembled a fantastic group, fantastic community, have fantastic returns. So really admire everything that he has going on.
That's awesome. And you knew of him too, Tom. So what do you want to share about him?
Scott's great, right? I know Max and them very, very close to the Outreach family. Love what Max is right here in my own backyard, his counterpart. But Scott puts, incredible content. He knows a world that for me inspires me. I'm not deep in that VC kind of GTM world like that. I coach to it and I consult on it. So he levels me up through his content. And just like Randy said, just everything he's done, right? Now he's an advisor at a lot of stuff. He did 4 years at Outreach, was incredible there. And he's just a great guru, right? He's not the guru, Gooroo, but, the good way, right? The good guru that he puts stuff out that is very valuable for folks. And he's just going out there and doing some really great stuff. So when I heard the name, I was like, sold. Absolutely somebody I could put my stamp of approval on.
Oh, that's awesome. So if you're watching, please tag Scott Barker in the comments so he knows that he got chose to be this week's Guru of the Week. So that is all. That's basically a wrap. The only thing we have left now is the after party. I've been dropping that Google link. I put it in the private chat for our guests. And it's also in the comments. So hopefully everybody can find it. I will drop it here one more time. But as people are finding the link for the after party, could you both let the viewers know how they can find you after the show? Tom, we'll start with you.
LinkedIn, right here, fam. This is where I live and breathe. This is my place. So you can find me on LinkedIn, Tom Slocum. I got a fire emoji next to my name. But that's where you can DM me. I don't bite. More than welcome to answer any questions, help anybody out. As my headline says, I am your future homie-in-law. So that's where you can find me. And then all the other channels, right? I'm on TikTok, Instagram, all the good ones out there. But yeah, that's just where you can find me.
Oh, that's awesome. And how about you, Randy?
Excellent. I will give a shout out to Jesse from my team was on before, and Peter Brennan, who's a longtime great CRO. I saw making some comments there before. So it might surprise you, but of all that stuff that Tom rattled off, I am only LinkedIn. So feel free to connect me that way. And in all fairness, I don't have a ton of time. I do my best to respond. So Like, kind of do my best, but don't set too many expectations. I joined sales community, a lot of great content. I do a weekly podcast. We're actually booked out weekly until September of 2025.
Whoa.
Oh, wow.
Wow. Okay.
That's
Well, put me down for like October 2025. I'll be there.
Don't worry. You're both there. You are both there. You don't know it yet.
We're on the schedule. 2025. Catch us there.
Can't wait. Well, we'd love to get you back on the show here. I feel very privileged and grateful to get both of you on the show. So thanks for staying up late with the Whiskey Wednesday audience. And of course, as always, would love to have you on the after party, but understand that it's a late hour. So if you could join us, that would be great. Like I said, the comment is in the private chat here for the guests. I have it pulled up on the side, so I'm going to get ready to join here in just a second. And I hope our audience joins as well. But other than that, thank you so much for joining. It was really great to sit down with both of you tonight. And yeah, well, thank you. I don't have anything.
Thank you. Great job. Well done.
Great to meet you, Randy.
Likewise.
Great to meet you, Randy. I had a blast. Jesse, you did incredible. This was some fun topics. And thanks for having us. Yeah.
Absolutely. All right. Well, until next time, everybody, thank you so much. Have a great week.
Thank you.